All right, I'm all set.
Okay. So who took care of the roll call? We have any citizens on?
Karen has disappeared from my screen now. Did I miss something? Did she leave?
No, she vanished too for me.
She may be just listening in. Okay, informational items. So we got approval for the bridge.
Yeah, and all the crossings in most of the trail. We put in for the main bridge that was already built, all the wetland crossings in the original plan, with the exception of the large bridge on the other end that hasn't been built yet. So that's good news because they determine it as of right, so we don't need a permit as long as we're doing the hiking trail. So actually, they can actually continue doing some work now. Perfect timing as the weather's getting nice outside. Next, we'll probably go in and get an as of right determination for the new crossing location they found. But I got to work with Kyle on that and see if the documents they already have, has enough information that the commission can make a decision on that.
So that's the bridge for what the EMTs want to use for crossing over they need it.
Yeah. So that one I didn't put. That's going to be a little different. It could be a little trickier because I believe it's in the right of way for the power company. So I got to look into that as well.
So it comes down through the top of the sail,
Down
through, you cut holes in the decks and the ship.
Oh, so you have to.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron, can you go
Yeah.
on?
Get to the, first off, you have to take the battery out of the old one and put the new
No,
one
I
in.
just need to increase the audio.
And does that make more sense than designing it in a way that it could be?
I got in, now I just need to increase the audio.
We hear you loud and clear, Karen.
All right. Well, yeah. So no, that's the EMT bridge. But I got to work with Kyle. We think there's enough information.
Priorities that were far more important spatially.
Well, the new submarines are different than.
So why don't you try unmuting, Karen?
And they
Microphone
have big
there.
hatches now, like the radio set room.
Unmuting herself. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, we're gonna look and see.
Pretty big. There's a set size on what it is. I don't know if it's 12 by 12 or 6 by 6 or whatever it is. But
Unmute.
you could drop in a hole.
It should be.
Otherwise, you were limited to the hatch size of about like.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So we just got to see if the documents we already have, if we can use those to put before the Wetlands Commission to get an as of right determination for that location as well. And then we also have to look into the easement there for the power line. But I think the fire department's, hoping to get that bridge built soon because there'll be a good asset for them to get back there with the ATV.
Okay. All right. So everyone saw the meeting minutes from last month. Any comments or questions?
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second? Can I get a second approval?
I'll second.
There you go.
We've got like 3 of them.
Okay.
Sorry, I saw hands waved. I got
Okay. All right. I don't have all the windows open. Sorry.
it.
All right. All in favor then? Get all the hands up then. I should open it up to the screen. All right, so that's approved. Financial reports, we have nothing there, right?
No, director's report, I didn't add one. Had a lot this week, but I mean, real quick, I can go over just a few things. This week, Christie Hill, I met with Joe Tillman. They're actually starting, I believe, tomorrow. They're renovating the parking lot there, which is great. They started today, I think, pushing some of the brush back, and then tomorrow they'll be, I think, grading it and then putting down some millings. So that'll be a nice step there. And then once, July hits with capital, we can get some lights in there, make some improvements to that site to hopefully stop some of the issues that have been going on there. March 19th, there's going to be guideline changes, which lucky for you guys because I had a ton of stuff attached regarding summer camp and a bunch of other things. But since it's changing, I didn't think it was a good idea to review that, seeing as it's going to be totally different within a week. But we are going to we're going forward with summer camp. And then budget work sessions are this Thursday. We're at 2:30. I'll send out the remote meeting link to everybody. I did notice that it looks like they might have cut us $3,500 out of our electric line. It says like based on history. So I'm going to talk to the mayor about that and see what's going on with that.
So they're saying we're not spending enough?
Yes, I don't know if they're looking. That's what I want to talk to them. If they're looking at the last 2 years, there was Tripoli and then
Yeah.
COVID. But I don't know if he's taking into account that the food pantry is now off the town green electric, so that might have been,
Okay.
paying that much for electric. So actually, we might be saving some money there on that bill without all those refrigerators.
No, that makes sense.
Then they were, reimbursing the church previously. And that's pretty much it right now. We're getting ready to do all the spring sports, getting all the guidelines together and working with the leagues. Basketball is doing well. They're not allowing any spectators and they're streaming the games for parents. And it seems to be working out. We haven't had any issues from the school.
How are they streaming?
I'm not sure. They just asked me if they could have one additional parent in to work the camera, and I told them that was okay.
Okay, so it's
I'm not sure like what service they're using. And that's pretty much it right now.
As far as the budget, is the lights the only thing that you're expecting to change from what we saw?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean that's the only change that they made, or when it went through the mayor through that step. Which when we met, they didn't even make any cuts. This was, I think, last minute before they submitted the final budget to go to the finance committee. So we'll get to talk about it on Thursday with them, but I'm hoping that's it. Otherwise, it looks intact other than that, so should be in good shape. They kept the increase in for the drug testing for the summer camp kids. So
Nice.
okay. So that was just kind of old business at all, or was that some new stuff you gave us? Not sure where we ended up there. Or is that part of your financial report?
that was just, I guess, in place of the director's report, just a kind of an update.
Okay.
That actually kind of just happened after this. So
All right, so the pay scale is going up.
yeah, so we did it out for the next couple of years because it's going up. This year is going to be a difficult year because we got to start with one pay price, and then August 1st it goes up $1 again. Talking to Don at HR, he originally was saying we'd probably just do the raise, right out of the beginning. But we did the math, and to pay that extra $1 to everybody for 5 weeks was a tremendous amount of money. So it's, to actually keep the costs down, we're going to pay them at the current rate, minimum wage, and then give the $1 increase for the last week of summer camp. That way it saves us a tremendous amount of money. That way we can keep the costs down for the parents as well.
With next year's raise, do you think that the prices of the classes were going to go up to cover?
Yeah, so we gotta finish looking at all that. We kind of finished the pay scale, and we're trying to finalize the number of staff, so we can get a better idea of how much it's going to cost, and if we have to, we're going to definitely have to raise prices. We're not sure if we're going to have to raise them this year. There might be a slight increase. We were hoping to wait, but me and Monica were talking, it might be better just to raise it slightly each year, kind of lessen the blow. That way they don't get a big spike in the price, next year. But what we did is also for the playground supervisors, we kept them at the same rate as they were previously. And if you notice, we didn't give them a raise August 1st because we don't have to. And that was a way to kind of keep the costs down. And then starting next year, we'll give them the dollar increments. Because there was, a pretty decent gap between the playground leader and the playground supervisor. So that was a way to kind of save some money.
So isn't it $15 an hour, Steve?
So right now it's gonna
I
be
don't,
$15. So currently it's 12. August 1st it goes to 13, and then next summer, July 1st, which works out for the camp schedule, it'll be 14, and then in July 1st, I believe of 2023, it goes up to 15, and that's the end of the schedule for what they have for the raises of the minimum wage. So I think they did it over 4 or 5 years.
oh, okay.
Do you expect any complaints or concerns? I mean, obviously the minimum wage has been publicized and been in the news for the last few years, but do you expect any? I mean, we're usually full. I'm not really necessarily worried about our capacity, but do you expect any complaints or anything like that your office is gonna have to deal with?
There might be one or two, but I mean, we've been trying to, make people aware that the prices might go up. Everybody I've talked to asking if we're going to have summer camp, we basically told them we got to figure out all the pricing still because of minimum wage, and they were understanding. They said they completely get that. Everybody's prices are going up because of it. So there's
Okay.
somebody that will complain, but so far,
There's always one, right?
but so far it's been positive for everybody I talked to. Basically telling the price will go up, and they were okay with that. I guess last year not having camp kind of put things into perspective for a lot of the parents, and they said they're willing to pay this year.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? All right. So you got general policies. That's just an update.
Yeah, so there was some ordinance changes, so I thought it was a good time to look at it. The main one being the alcohol ordinance that was put into effect. We actually have somebody that wants to take advantage of that, so I thought it was a good idea to start, looking at that and updating our policies. Because what I'll have to do is, I believe, give written approval at least 30 days in advance, and then they can go to the chief to get a permit with him, and they have to do that I believe 20 days in advance. And then there's a process. I think they have to get like a zoning official signature, and a few other things before they can actually even get the liquor permit for their event. So I didn't know if there's like how we want to go about that, if there's certain circumstances we want to allow, or we just want to take it case by case. Regardless, we do need to update, the policy because it has the old ordinance number, and the locations aren't correct now, because they basically, I think, put, any property under us, we could essentially get permission.
Didn't we narrow that down to Blonders and Highland Lake?
So I think that was the old ordinance had like 3 or 4 locations.
Okay.
And now the town council redid the ordinance to include like all town properties, parks, and then who's responsible for each location to give the approval. So that's why I figured we should update our policies to reflect the ordinance. And then they updated the leash ordinance, which it's fine how it's worded. We might just want to throw in, leash no longer than 10 feet. And then other thing I kind of caught is it says fires, all open fires, including campfires, are prohibited at recreation facilities. I don't want to edit that because I know BOAG usually have a fire at the town green. Maybe we give permission, no fires unless permission is granted. And then check with the fire marshal first too to make sure there's no, advisories for, when it's dry, they don't want any fires.
I imagine they need to have some kind of qualification for putting the fire in the middle of the green, though, right? Like they have some safety measures that they have to have by, you know, in case something goes out of control, or certain protocols or rules around that kind of situation?
So I asked the fire marshal, and because he said they didn't need anything like from him, because someone had asked, I think maybe when Boag was trying to do it, and I think they canceled it. He said basically there's no ordinance or requirement, you know.
He issues burn permits, so maybe there's no ordinance, but he's in charge of giving permission to do it.
So I don't know if it's maybe because it's in a fire pit.
That's
If you
illegal. Yeah, pit you could take, you don't need permission. But if you did like a pallet bonfire, that kind of thing, you'd have to get a permit.
Yeah, because I think I'm thinking more like a fire pit, because I think Boag I don't know what they do, but the Boy Scouts approached me and asked, like, they wanted to use, I think, Sawmill Park for, you know, like maybe even a camp out and have a fire, and they said they would bring a portable, like, actual fire pit
don't need a
there.
permit for that then. But we would have to, or you want to create something that says yes, you can?
Yeah, I mean,
try that?
yeah, because I mean, our policies say they can't. So, I mean, if like the Boy Scouts want to have an event, or if BOAG does that, it, you know, it might benefit if we're updating our policies, you know, to take a look at that currently while we're doing it.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
So if you update the language to say you need permission or a permit, is that gonna add some bureaucracy, like a form or something? Or is it just like, call this number and let us know?
I mean, I guess it would depend how we word it. I think we could go like, you have to have the park permit, and then maybe just say you'd have to have written approval to have a campfire or a bonfire. We could say you'd also need, you know, an additional permit from the fire marshal as well.
I propose we add it to the permit. Obviously the policy will probably need to be updated. I have a little concern. I know you mentioned something about a case by case basis. That could get sticky. If you allow for some and not others, and we don't have like very clear guidelines as to why we said yes to some and no to others, that could present some potential problems down the road.
Yeah, because I think someone's looking to have a wedding, so I don't know if they want just a toast, or if they're, you know, looking to have, you know, the actual reception there and, you know, have, I don't know, open bar. I'm not sure exactly what they're trying to do yet, but I told them basically to hold off till I can talk to you guys, get at least an idea, so we can start figuring out how we want to handle it. Because then after us, it goes to the chief. There's a bunch of rules in the ordinance too, as far as like insurance requirements. You know, if it's a catered event, they have to have like $2 million insurance policy, special liability insurance. They have to show proof of their liquor permit as a caterer. And then there's also, I think, a temporary one they can get as well if it's just a normal person looking to have like a toast at a wedding. But definitely want to talk to the chief too and just double check a few things, because there's a bunch of signatures they need. They need like after written approval from either me or permission from the commission, they need they start the process with him. I think they also get like the fire marshal's approval and like the planning and zoning official, his approval before then it goes back to the chief. And I don't know if he sends it to the state to get approved after that. Yeah. So it's a process. Another thing I was thinking about, I mean, it would definitely slow down the process. I know some of the towns do this for their park rentals, which is a little ridiculous because of how difficult it is to reserve a pavilion. Like I think New London, you have to go to a park and rec commission and request permission to use it.
That's not good.
Not for, you know, like for pavilions, but I don't know if we want to maybe do that, you know, to allow permission for alcohol in the parks. They have to attend a meeting and, you know, get permission. So that way it's maybe not just me, maybe the whole commission makes the decision and takes a look at the scenario before we grant, you know, permission to even move forward to get the permit from the chief.
I feel like if we just have them sign a document so they don't have a rage,
Mm.
and that they'll be held responsible if they do have one. That's more than enough. And I think, in general, people aren't renting these out to have a blowout.
Mm.
I think it's typically pretty casual, and they want to have a little alcohol there. Question I have though is associated with, so do you take into account, if they wanted to use the pavilion at the Colonel Ledyard, that if there's like baseball games and soccer games and stuff like that happening at the same time, that they're serving alcohol and things of that nature? Is that
Yeah, because typically if the pavilion's open, they could rent the pavilion and there could be a soccer game going on at the same time. Actually, we ran into that issue last year, and we were now trying to add a little thing on that says like you only have the pavilion, because they were under the impression they had the whole park, and they were setting up chairs for a wedding soccer field when there was a high school soccer game. Like 30 minutes, they all showed up and jumped on the field. He was very upset, but then once we reread the permit to him, you only have the pavilion. It was the opposite effect. It actually was the groom was like the worried one, not the bride. Calling me, and I don't know if Russell gave him my cell phone or what, but
Way to go, Russell.
that was a fun weekend.
all right? So I guess it's related to this document. So I guess once you guys look at what you want to add, or in sync with the town's wording, and then maybe next meeting we can have some discussion and thought on how best to give this permission, or if we just have some certain rules and you express that to those people, and them signing on to it is saying that they're committing to that policy.
So, yeah, I agree, Ken. Let's bring it back to next week after we've had some time to absorb it. But the Lou's comments about putting it on the permit, I guess, can I ask maybe one step further? How, Scott, are we going to get confirmation of all the other sequential permissions that need to happen, right? So we can say they have to go do it, but it's almost like, do you need, rather than you chasing, can we make them get a signatory for each of the requisite pieces?
Oh, they do that all.
When it comes back, it's done.
Yeah, no, they do that all on their own. They just need a written approval from me first to go to the chief, and then they're responsible for getting, they can pick up the permit from the chief. Then they're responsible for getting all the signatures and getting it, I think, back to the chief. But I'll talk to him, and maybe he can forward any completed permits over to us for our record, because it would be good to have them on file with the permit once it's approved, to know that it was actually approved through the process.
Yeah, I mean, if Russ is out and about and they're suddenly at a park that none of the rest of the bits were completed on.
Or you can even add maybe something under the permit that says, the applicant is responsible for completing the rest of the required ordinances. I'm not sure how often we'll get these, how much of a paperwork burden it's going to be for you to get those back and track them. And if they didn't, my thought, and Shay, I'm with you on this. I think we should, I like the idea of having confirmation, but then what if for some reason you don't have confirmation and we forgot to follow up? Like if you're getting a lot of them, is that too much of a burden? Are we then liable if we're asking for that confirmation and we forgot to follow up, versus adding the line in there that they are responsible for getting all the required town permits?
Yeah, I like like you said, Lou, they're responsible, and I would almost make them responsible for getting a copy of the approved chief's note back to you, Scott, to close the loop saying everything's complete. I wouldn't put it on you and your staff, or even, the chief's staff, but if they really want to go through with this, they got to circle it all the way back to you saying it's done.
So maybe,
Easy in the sense of just when they seek that permit from you, Scott, that you send an email to the chief that this person's going to be coming in for the permit, and then he replies back, yeah, they got it.
Yeah.
Is that simple enough documentation? Because it seems you don't need to have reams of trails trying to track it all. It's like that's sufficient, because someone might ask a request for you and then they end up not even doing it. So they may never ever actually go to him.
Yep.
Another thing I could maybe do is not issue the permit till it's completed, and they either come back and say they're not, pursuing that, or if they have all the documentations, then we can actually sign the permit and issue the park permit itself to them.
That's probably cleanest, yeah.
Is the park permit online? Because I can't find it. Our website's not very user-friendly,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Actually, they just switched the website hosts. We're going through a migration right now, they called it.
Yeah, Google comes up with the wrong one. Like the first hit is always the old one with like outdated information. So, but it would be helpful for me to see what the permit looks like and what the process is if someone was going to rent a park. And see what we're talking about here.
Yep, so it's under general info, there's department info. If you click that, it should be under the forms section. There should be what is it?
A pretty simple form. Essentially, you write what you're doing, why you're doing it, how many people are you expecting.
It's a little longer now because we did update it to add all the COVID rules and regulations. So I think now it's 3 pages, which it was nice before when it was 2 because you do it back to back, but. So I can follow up with like the chief and then also kind of do like a mock draft of the policies and actually maybe just send them out and get some input before the next meeting and get all the changes together. But I don't know I guess we have somebody now though trying to go through that process. So I don't know how we want to handle that person because I think they're trying to have it in May. And I think per the ordinance, they need to start the process 30 days in advance. So I don't know if our next meeting would be after that 30-day mark.
So is it 30 days in advance if you want to have a fire and alcohol, or is it 30 days in advance for any kind of rental?
No, 30 days in advance if you want to have alcohol is what it's in the ordinance. They need to come to get permission from Parks and Rec 30 days in advance, and then they have to go to the chief at least 20 days in advance.
Okay.
If it's less than that, they can't do the process. But I can talk to the chief because I mean the way it was explained to me is there wouldn't be a lot of from the town council. There wouldn't be very much liability from the town the way they wrote it and the requirements that they have as far as what the lawyer said is why they wrote the ordinance the way they did and have those certain requirements because it would take the liability off the town because I believe like they require a safe serve, someone to serve it that's certified to not overserve. And then because they have that certification, I think the liability then falls on that person. If they were to overserve somebody on our property, it goes back on them, not us, is the way it was explained to me by one of the counselors. It's definitely a situation that's trying to figure out how to navigate because I mean, I'm hoping it won't come up often, but just want to be prepared for when it does. And of course, one of the first permits of the year is requesting it.
It's been a long year. It's a good thing in the sense that you might generate more rentals, which is probably why the town decided to go this way. But yeah, it could cause some headaches in the beginning until we kind of iron out the protocol and how we're going to do this. So let's look forward to that next month with some more concrete approaches to how to handle this. We don't want you guys doing too much paperwork with this.
Tell that person then we can't give permission then until next month just because we don't have anything in place yet because it's one person for the May rental.
What kind of gathering is it?
I believe it's a wedding.
They're probably gonna wanna know if we're gonna let it, I mean, weddings are,
'Cause I think they're doing a plan, so I kind of feel bad for them if they're, set on this location thinking that they can, have this, and then if they're, delaying it or saying they can't last minute.
Well, I
Would
don't
feel
think what we have in
comfortable-
place shouldn't stop letting them do this. I mean, this would be a good run, I guess, to see what problems we might have that we need to fix.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, Ken. It's a good way to.
But we're
kind of
covered
test
as far as the town is concerned, so I don't think we have to worry about if something goes awry.
And luckily, that location's currently in our policies right now. So, as far as the update,
Location against that, sorry? Which location?
For Colonel Ledgerd, I believe is in the policies currently
Okay.
as one of the locations that they can get written approval from the director. The only thing is the ordinance number is different.
Yeah.
Would we feel comfortable letting that one just go forward like a temporary, I don't want to say temporary, but in the interim, since we don't have policies and we didn't change our stuff for the new ordinance, just to say that we can approve that one in the interim without having other guidelines in place, assuming and with the contingency that they follow all the town ordinances and permits and approvals and permissions and everything else.
That'll be good too, because we can kind of see how it moves through the process, and then learn of any kinks along the way as well.
In my world, we call that a pilot. It's going to be our pilot approval.
And so I'll call the chief too before tomorrow and try and see exactly what we're required and try and get a better idea of the whole process before I call her, and because she's probably going to call me tomorrow morning because I told her she had to wait until after this meeting, and she called me Monday. She got the week right, but she didn't, had to wait till Wednesday. She was jumping the gun a little bit.
A lot going on when you're planning a wedding. All right. So let's see. That's the alcohol beverages. So now we're on to control dogs in parks. You gotta
And
fix that. It says control.
that's a simple one. I think just after, exception of athletic facilities, just add leashes shall be no longer than 10 feet. And then maybe even add something like in accordance with the ordinance number, just so we're covered. If there's anything that's not in the place that references the ordinance. So, they'll have to follow that regardless what it says in our policy.
That's on trails as well, right?
Yeah, so all town property. And I was able to get them to put in the ordinance that they're not allowed on athletic fields, in the playgrounds, on the beach, and then, on any of the tennis or basketball courts as well.
Very good.
Actually, I think there's a fine with it too. So if they're not listening, it's actually enforceable now. And before it was just Russell asking them not to go on the field or locking the gates and putting up signs, which it didn't work. He'd put up the sign, they'd lift the dog right over the sign, over the locked gate, and then hop it.
All the time.
Yep.
You'd be amazed how many people like kick off.
Yeah. He says it's getting better though. They're walking around the field now at Pfizer.
Pfizer, yeah. Well, the sign says the dogs can't go on the playing field, so they assume that means let them go everywhere else.
Yeah, which is we want them. The outside's fine. We just don't want them in the field because that's treated and fertilized and seeded. I'm trying to think. The only other thing was maybe, I don't know, there says like signs, no person's allowed to hang like signs. And I'm assuming that doesn't apply to us because we put up signs like sandwich boards and stuff all the time in the park. And vendors. I'll maybe look into the vendors too to see if the process has changed for that. Because I think I saw an ordinance. It could just be the number changed and not a new ordinance added.
All right. Any other comments, folks? So the annual report, that's just what you report back to the town with or something?
Yeah, that's every year we do it around this time of budget season for the previous fiscal year. So it's actually not, it's a little confusing because it's 2019 to 2020. So it's not like the calendar year. So it's kind of like a year and a half behind the annual reports when we do them.
All right. Let's can get a motion to approve of those.
I'll motion.
All in favor?
Second.
All right. Anybody have any comments or concerns or?
Oh, I actually have one thing before we leave. Monica would kill me if I didn't. So we're planning on doing the egg hunt, but we were thrown a curveball today. We're not sure that we're going to have volunteers. Apparently, because the high school, we will usually have the Honor Society, the Key Club, they come and volunteer. She reached out and they're going to ask permission from the principal and see if they'll let them, but they're not doing any in-person club activities, which means that would be me, Monica, and Fran running the egg hunt, just the three of us. So we're in need of volunteers if anybody's, wants to come out.
What's the day again, Scott?
It's the day before Easter. It's like April 3rd.
What time is it?
Actually, one second. I have it on this. I think we want people at 9. I think we're going to try and set up for 9 o'clock and have, so 9 o'clock we want to try and start setting up. We're going to do a 10 o'clock actual start for the egg hunt. What we're planning to do to keep it spread out is do 3 different age groups. We're going to do 2 to 4, 5 to 8, and 9 to 12, and we're going to space them 30 minutes apart. And that we figured was the best way to do it because we're worried about families that have kids in multiple age groups. That way, if they have a 4-year-old, they can have the 4-year-old do their egg hunt. They can go get a picture with the Easter Bunny if they have a 9-year-old, and then come back, another half hour later for their time slot after the 5 to 8s have gone. And then that'll also allow us to keep it all centralized because we can put the eggs out, send the kids out. They'll clear the field in a couple of minutes, and then we'll put the next wave of eggs out for the next group, and then repeat again. Because originally we were going to spread it out on 3 different fields, but especially now with possibly a shortage of volunteers.
Count me in.
Yeah, I can probably be there too, Scott, and Kate and Jess. They'll come like usual if they don't have lacrosse practice that morning.
How many volunteers are you looking for?
I mean, I don't think we have usually a ton, but we do usually get a small group. I think with, we're worried about parking too, might be an issue. But, just to make sure we can set up the eggs. So I don't know if we need 6 to anywhere between 6 and 20 people. Hopefully we can, make it happen with the 3 of us included as well. And we're also going to ask the Rotary Club as well and see if they'll help out. But a lot of them are, I think, reluctant to go out and do things still because they're on the older side.
You're vaccinated.
I'm pretty free at this point.
Give them shots.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Scott, I'm good. It depends on how sports schedule pans out. That may end up being the first week of games, but I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, and I can send out some more information. But anybody that can help be appreciated because we got worried today when we heard that the 3 of us. Russ can't help; he's got rowing.
Surprised if they
I
had
haven't
games
asked
on
him.
Saturday before Thanksgiving or Easter.
I was gonna say I haven't asked him, but I might be able to convince my husband to come too if we really need people. We'll see how things go. That may or may not be a possibility, but I won't promise him. But maybe.
And I'll have to ask the Lions because they're teaming up with us and doing their event at the same time. So maybe they'll actually have some extra people now that I think of. So I'll reach out to them and see if maybe they'll have people help with our event as well as theirs. Because I don't imagine them needing that many people to organize pictures with the Easter Bunny. They just need the bunny, and, a cameraman, maybe someone to call, the next person in line.
All right, why don't you email us
Hmm.
when you get all that information and whether you need us.
All right. I think that's all I have.
Has the work from the SEAT grant been done at the town green?
I think they just got the funding. I was talking to Joe, and they're doing the parking lot now because they're assuming they're getting ready to start work up there fairly shortly. I'll talk to the mayor and Liz and see where that stands and what they're trying to do. I think right now the main goal is to finish putting up the lights. They have the bases and everything in from last year, but I think the weather turned, so they weren't able to finish getting all the lighting up. And then I think they'll start with some of the projects that were funded through that. Because I think they have to start like within a certain time frame. They have to actually start at least part of it, spend some of the money like within a certain time frame. And then after that, I think they have like a year, multiple years to spend it. But they do have to kick the project off within a certain date. I'm not sure exactly what part of the project will be the first step, but I know it did get, it was a lot less than originally it was thought because the grant was a lot less money than when they were filling out. They thought it was going to be, I think, like $1 million, and then we're only able to get, I think, like a couple $100,000. So now it's like a phase plan to get all that work complete.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
One, just Scott, and remind me if we have a policy on this. The high school safe grad party is evaluating options of what we can do with the kids. There is a possible desire to do a picnic potentially at Blonders or something. I believe we waive fees for school things, but just can you confirm that for me?
Yeah, we don't charge the Board of Ed. They help out so much, give us free use of the schools during the week, so we wouldn't charge them.
Yeah, we're trying to get creative. So it may be at the high school, it might be at Blonders. I'll let you know as we know more. Okay.
I have one question. I've seen the subject of like Ledyard having a dog park come up. Is that like a hard no, or is that something that's never been funded? Like, or okay.
No.
Multiple rounds of
Coming up.
I figured it has come up before,
Yeah.
and there's a reason. So just wanted to know.
And from hearing the nightmares from the other directors in the area that have a dog park, I think we should stay far away from it.
Yeah.
All right, folks, how about a motion to adjourn?
All right, second.
So moved.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks. Have a
Good
good
night,
night.
everyone.
Good night.
Yeah.
All right.